Guys, look at that barrier. That's disgusting. She's better than Carmen. Uh-oh, this S3 is gonna hurt. Portrait, okay. Oh my god, guys, I actually... Oh, she stripped the barrier, but it's okay. It already mitigated so much damage, right? Peira gives attack up, Suri. You might have not noticed it, because she does 20,000 buffs. What's going on, YouTube, and welcome on in. Today I got a Peira video for y'all, an all-encompassing review. We're going to talk about the build I used, show some gameplay footage, we'll talk about the artifacts, the mola suggestions, what I kind of learned specifically, guys. I think this is what's going to separate my video from everything else you're going to see, is my findings of her in a standard draft. So a standard Bruiser style, slower player turn 2 draft. Now I do use her as an opener, so she will be going first, kind of like how I use Conqueror Lilius. However, I think a lot of players assume she would be a very strong cleave or aggressive unit, right? Her fast base speed, she works like another Rand. She's just going to be amazing for cleave and make them stronger. I thought so too, of course, that she's going to be strong in that kind of lineup, but what really impressed me was her versatility and her usage in a standard lineup. Not necessarily to fight cleave, but just to use her against other standard players. So I'll go over all that good stuff. Let me know how your summons went too, guys, in the comments below. We went to pity, and I think I got 2 artifacts along the way, so not the worst. I was hearing some people get some crazy luck. Let me know if y'all did better, worse, or about the same as me, okay? We can kind of mourn together. Anyways, let's start the video. Alrighty, y'all, let me go ahead and show you the build I was rocking for today's real-time arena session, and I'll make a few disclaimers alongside it. So here's the stat line. It is pretty much exactly the same as Conqueror Lilius. I just copied her gear. And since she's so much higher base speed than Conqueror Lilius, we were able to hit 300. Now, I know if you're watching and you're a standard player, Bruiser player, you might be like thinking already, Car, I can't hit 300. I can't even hit close to that. I'm not even going to bother. Don't worry too much, guys. If you watch my Conqueror Lilius video, the only thing you need to understand is that both Peira and Conqueror Lilius are openers. What does that mean? That means if they don't open the match, if they don't start, you might as well not be running them. However, that doesn't mean we need 300 speed, okay? Based on where your rank is. Even if you're an Emperor, right? Or you fight a lot of Emperors right now, you're Sailor, you're High Champion, you don't need 300 either. You can scale that down to 290, 280, 270, 260. You'll just have to be a little bit more careful about running her in certain scenarios. I was first picking her, and on top of that, guys, I actually wanted to bait out Conqueror Lilius's. So where I normally would pre-ban if I didn't have first pick, I would let Conqueror Lilius through. My opponent, of course, would pick her, and then I would use Peira to counter her in a standard lineup. All right, so that's why I went for 300 speed. You don't need that. You don't need immunity. Her kit is absolutely busted, guys. Even if you're at 260, if you use her a little bit wiser, just more carefully, where they don't have an opener that can contest, kill, silence, stun, whatever, you'll have a lot of success with her. Okay, so beyond the speed, we're gonna want a lot of defense, health, and effectiveness if we can get it. Very similar to Conqueror Lilius. In fact, I just straight up stole her gear for Conqueror Lilius. I'm gonna have to farm up a lot of speed gear after, so I can have both of them geared together, because they do make a nice combo if for some mistake your opponent lets you have both. Doesn't happen very often. But I know a lot of people have trouble rolling speed gear. Just try to give her your best speed. That's the #1 priority, because like I said, she is an opener. Just don't be too hard stuck on getting 300, 290, 280, whatever it is. If you can guarantee that she'll go before most units and you draft her carefully, she'll do very well for you even in a standard lineup. Now, guys, of course, the higher speed you can get, the more options and the more often we can first pick her or early pick her, because then we're less afraid of the contest of other units possibly going first. But beyond that, guys, beyond the speed, get some bulk on her, because she will be taking hits from counter units like Violet, possibly Rimu S2. She'll also be having the escort mechanic, so she wants a lot of health for the damage share. And beyond that, get some effectiveness. That way she can land the debuffs. We won't be able to hit enough effectiveness onto like very, very high effectiveness Soul Weavers, but that's okay. I think prioritizing the speed and the health is the main thing, especially as a standard player. Now, there's one thing I want to note, guys. Big shout out to one of my viewers, Inori. He was telling me, boys, so we saw, and I mentioned this in the preview video of Peira, that the barrier on the pack hunt, the skill 3, is the first time we've ever had a unit released that has barrier strength increases proportional to the caster's level, right? Guys, I think this barrier alone completely was so busted. They made the multipliers on this insane. Even at level 50, guys, we're looking at a 12,000, I think Inori said 11 to 12,000 health barrier. Fully maxed at level 60, fully molded, she's going to be looking at high 14, 15,000 health barrier. That means if you build her with any type of bulk, plus the insane barrier, she's going to be your tank, guys. We were tanking fully demon-moded Rems. We were tanking so much damage share in place. Though, it felt like I was using another Carmen, Crimson Armin, or like Fallen Cecilia, for example. The 30% damage share from the Escort on top of just how much free barrier she gets, and she doesn't even need any stats. You can run her at level 50, like I said, 13,000 health, 12,000 health barrier at level 50. It's absolutely crazy. So that alone makes her insane. High base speed, crazy barrier with no need for extra health or defense scaling. So we can just have kind of mismatched stats all over the place, and then just enough effectiveness, because the next thing that kind of surprised everybody. Obviously, her kit is super front-loaded with all the debuffs and buffs, but the skill 1, boys, I slightly mentioned it, but this stun is absolutely oppressive, okay? Since we're always going to have the barrier most of the time, there will be a few scenarios where you will just S2 or just S3, depending on your enemies, but most of the time she will have the barrier, and this stun is 65% chance with the option 100% chance stun, which is pretty much the most powerful debuff in the game, right? Unless the unit is unable to be stunned. But all of this together means Peira, of course, would work for Cleave, for aggro players, but will even work for us as standard players, because she can pseudo work as a tank, as a Conqueror Lilius, and the biggest thing too, of course, is the attack up. Okay, moving on from the stat and skill selection, let's go ahead and talk about the Molagora priority. Now, she is slightly mola intensive because the molas that she gets are very good. I'll tell y'all, we can cut corners a little bit, but the overall build, this is pretty much full, because we don't need any more than this unless you're flexing, is 5 in skill 3 for the amazing barriers like I just mentioned. The skill 2, we want the -1 turn cooldown on Punishing Blade. And then on skill 1, the extra effect chance to get that 40% chance to stun, 65% chance, of course, when we have a barrier, right? On the Woven Claw. This is just too good. Now, if you wanted to cut corners, guys, I would say you could probably cut off the 5% effect chance on the stuns here. You do want to get it eventually because she cycles so fast that she will be landing these stuns. But if we wanted to just soul burn instead, if we were running some books or had some soul access, we could do that instead. Beyond that, though, I would not suggest cutting off the -1 turn cooldown here or in the skill 3 because of the way they work together and how fast she's going to cycle with extra turns and being super high base speed and possible artifacts as well. But you could probably, if you needed to really cut molas too, I guess sacrifice some barrier strength since it is already very strong. But definitely, guys, try to get +4, +3, +5. It's not too bad, and it really, really helps overall with the kit. But luckily, she doesn't need anything beyond that. No +15 required, just +12. All right, let's move on to the artifact selection. This one's quite interesting, and if you guys have any other things you've been trying, let me know, because of course we only did one session of testing here. I kind of talk with my chat. We try a few different things out, and I think she has a lot of versatility in this section. So let's take a minute to review them all. This is the one I've been trying, and a lot of y'all that play standard should give this one a try too. Not only is it free if you've been playing in the past few months, it came during, I believe, the Christmas side story. This will give her some extra defense, so of course she'll be even tankier when she takes those counter hits. On top of that, the big thing is how often she takes turns. At the end of every turn, she grants a random buff, and that could be barrier, which is okay, not the best, but increased defense is huge, guys. Immunity could be huge too if it comes up later in the match after immunity gets stripped, or continuous healing is all right. The big thing is just defense and the fact that she gives so many buffs out because of how her skill set works and her base speed with the turn cycling. This is a very, very nice artifact that I think a lot of people would overlook. Now, keep in mind, this is for standard play. If you play cleave or play aggressive, you're going to want to go for other artifacts. Now, another artifact I think people, myself included, thought might be insane because she is a thief and she can take advantage of RNL. Apparently, guys, this one is not super good because there is some negative interaction because you take too many turns and you cycle out of buff. So be careful running RNL. However, if you do play super aggressive, I could still see it being all right. On top of that, Warhorn, if you have a leveled one, this is my spare one. Warhorn is always a nice option as a just all-rounder artifact, right? She gives increased attack. Let's give more increased attack, and we get an extra combat readiness push. Doesn't really synergize with just her fast cycling, but it will just give her combat readiness push every 3 enemy turns anyways. Now, another one I think you could run is Alabaster, and I'll put that on the screen. The increased effectiveness and her own artifact. Let me try to find it here. Both of those are nice because you will need effectiveness, so it's effectively free stats. But the Goblet of Oath, if you have nothing else, guys, and when you do your parapulls, you don't really know what to try yet, just run Goblet of Oath. You may find something more specialized, but this is a very nice just... You don't want to think, you just want to slap on an artifact, and it has use, right? Increased effectiveness is always nice, so you can get that extra, those extra chances of debuffs. Get easier on stat lines, as well as just minus, you know, we get the decreased skill cooldown. It can only activate 3 times, but it is nice because this works at +0, this works at +15. You should get +15 for the extra health. But yeah, a very, very nice artifact from Smilegate. So if you don't know what else, just run Goblet of Oath. And with that said, guys, some quick closing thoughts. Overall, my sentiment is still the same. You should still try to get Cerise, 1, so you have a chance at pulling Guiding Light. It's an insane artifact. 2, Cerise will still be very good for PvE. Now, Peira is an amazing, amazing unit, guys. So if you plan to play PvP later and bonus points, apparently she can be used in some hunt. I think Katie's, she has a little bit of potential there. I still think Cerise is way better as a PvE unit, but just take note the fact that Peira will probably make a little splash in the PvE scene slightly. Now, overall, still pull for Cerise and Guiding Light first, but definitely if you want to play PvP in the future, and if you think you have a speed set that she can take advantage of, guys, no matter if you're a speed player, aggressive player, cleave player, I had my doubts how well she would work in a slower standard draft. Remember, guys, don't focus on the speed. I could have ran this at 270, even 260 in a lot of my matches that I hopefully showed alongside this talk. I just wouldn't have been able to let like Conquer Lilius open. I'd have to adjust slightly and make sure my opponent doesn't have those openers. I did this so that I could have that extra option, but we can use her even at slower speeds. So she's good in standard, she's good in cleave. She's just an amazing unit. Honestly, I didn't want to talk about it too much to be negative, but I think she's too strong, in fact. She's so front-loaded in her kit. The stun is the craziest thing we've seen so far. It's easy to gear because of the insane berries she gets. The escort mechanic makes it good for standard players and cleave players. I think she's a little bit too strong in a no nerf meta, but it is what it is. So if you guys want to play PvP, get her after Cerise. Pick her up, definitely. She is an amazing unit for all players, and she looks amazing too. All right, any other additional questions, guys, please hit me up in Twitch, Discord, or in the comments below. I appreciate y'all so much. Thank you for watching. I'll catch y'all in the next one.